My parents were very hardworking and very giving. They always kept foster children along with all of us, and we're always doing for other people.
Very nice, considering the kid they had for a son. They always treated me very well and got me most everything I wanted. They spoiled me rotten.
I grew up on a farm with lots of brothers and sisters, lots of animals, and always had to help with the chores and around the house.
It was a long time ago. There wasn't a whole lot of things to do. There wasn't no TV. Wasn't drive-ins or anything like that. You pretty much had to entertain yourself with bicycles, pets, and whatever you had.
We always had pets: cats, dogs, horses, ponies. My brothers had rabbits. I think somebody had a guinea pig once upon a time. But there was always animals around.
Oh, I don't know, mostly mixed breed, mongrel type dogs. Things that my dad would pick up alongside the road and bring home. Had cats. Had a white groundhog. Dad was hunting one night and he ran across this den of groundhogs. He brought them home, including the mother. And the next morning we got up and all the groundhogs were gone except the white one. And she abandoned it, so we raised it with a baby bottle.
We met in high school, and our first date was to the Christmas dance, Snowball Christmas Dance, I think it was called.
We went to high school together. We didn't actually know each other until our senior year. And somebody told me that Grandma wanted me to ask her to go to one of the formal dances, so I did. That's how we got started.
I guess it just evolved that way. Kind of as we started dating, we just kind of knew that we were kind of met for each other.
Something about her clicked, and I said, that's it. I came home and told my mom I was going to marry her. She didn't like the idea. Well, she just told me that she wasn't the right person and this and that, like good mothers do.
No, not really. I kind of remember the night we picked out my ring, but I don't remember how he really proposed. You kind of had an idea of which ring you wanted, but he thought he needed his mom and dad. So he went down there and he said, they were down fishing, and he said, you go find them. Well, I couldn't find where they were fishing when he was going to get cleaned up. So I came back, but we went to town and we got it anyway. Right? Never did find them where they were fishing.
Actually, I think it was in her living room, and we were sitting on the couch and I asked her to marry me, I think.
Well, I worked at the hospital. I started out, I worked as a nurse's aide, and then I worked for a while. Then I took time off and had children. About 12 years I didn't work, because when the kids were little I stayed home with the kids. Then I went back to work and worked as a secretary in the different departments, and ended up in the human resource department for 30 years at the hospital.
After I got out of high school, I worked in a little box factory in Alliance where we packed dishes that we bought from local potteries. Then they were distributed to mom and pop grocery stores throughout the South. Like S&H green stamps, only we had our own stamps. We had our own coupons. So the people had to buy groceries at the store to collect the coupons. And after they had so many coupons, they could get a set of dishes. And I did that for 5 years. And Grandma T talked me into going into x-ray school. And I became an x-ray technician for 31 years. Retired from that in 1994, December 31st, 1994.
Well, your mother, if she didn't like something when she was little, she would just sit down and throw her a little temper tantrum when she was little. And we were going to Maine, and we were in the car, and Grandpa stopped along at a stand. They had them along the road that were selling French fried clams. So he got a carton of them so that we could try them because we had seen these stands. She got a hold of the carton and she'd give one to you and one to me. One to you, one to me. She was doling them out to everybody in the car, but she always had to have one in between all of theirs. Always. They were country kids. They liked to come over here while we were building the house, or before they built the house and we had the land here, and they'd come over and play in the woods and build tents. And they built the big tree house in the tree where Uncle Stan lives now. And every time the boys would get a nickel in their pocket, they'd run down to, used to be the feed mill down there, and they sold nails, and they'd go down and buy 5 cents worth of nails so they could pound some more boards in their tree house.
3 stories.
Yes, it was 3 stories high. And they could climb up it, and they could watch down at the fire station down at Palmar to see which way the fire trucks went on a call. So the fire call siren would go out, they'd run up the tree to see which way they could see that far.
I ran over Mark and Dan and the next door neighbor with a wagon load of cement that we were cleaning out, tearing out the floor out of the garage where Jan and Uncle Stan live at now. And I was coming into our driveway here at the house before this house was built to dump the cement in the back. And the tractor stalled and rolled over Dan and Mark, and it threw Orland off the wagon. I didn't actually hit him, but I did hit Mark and Dan. And I don't know how, but I lifted the trailer with all that cement off the boys and they could crawl out.
Wow.
They were typical girls. We'd send them to do something for punishment, and they'd go upstairs and read their books under the bed with flashlights. And Crystal didn't like to work in the house, so most of the time she'd be out chopping wood and stacking firewood with me. And Nita was more domesticated. She'd stay in the house and cook and clean. And we used to have a big old toboggan sled that we'd go sled riding on that. And when we weren't using it for a sled toboggan, we were dragging firewood in on the toboggan.
Oh, Aunt Nita always liked her books. She liked to read her books. And one year we were going to Florida for Christmas, and we gave them their Christmas presents before we went. And the girls all got books and stuff, and we thought, well, they could read the whole way to Florida. They had them read before we got out of Ohio. Had their books all read. So, and that was the year we went to Florida, and their Christmas gift that year was a trip to Disney World. One was the shooting of JFK, and I remember that. And then the other big thing was the Challenger exploding when the astronauts were, and of course the first man on the moon.
We got our first TV when I was in the 7th or 8th grade, and it was the year that General Eisenhower was elected as president. And because it was such a big thing, my mom and dad told me I could skip school the day of the inauguration and watch the inauguration on TV. And my school teacher called up and wanted to know why I wasn't at school. And I said, well, my mom and dad told me I could stay home and watch the inaugural parade. Next thing I knew, I heard a knock at the door, and all the boys in my class was at my house watching it with me. Our teacher let them go. And I think the girls went to somebody else's house and they watched it.
Right now, stress all of you to get all of the education you can, because you're coming into a world of technology that's taking a time that's requiring special educations. And that's the biggest thing that I think that you can do.
Anything else?
And love your parents and your siblings. Stay close to your family. And as the older you'll get, the more important you'll find that family is. And I just feel sorry for people that don't have a family support system. That's the biggest thing.
I didn't have that strong family support like Grandma's family. And it's meant a lot to me. Knowing that the extended family is right there when we need them. I grew up basically as an only child.
But they're there if you really need them. But
right. I mean, my brother's 8 years older, and my sister's 10, and my other sister's 12 years older than I am. So I was basically an only child of the family of 4. And I grew up that way. That's why I was so spoiled.
And still are.
And still am. Grandma does a very good job at it. Study hard, get an education, make goals, stick to them. Try to raise a nice family. Be good citizens. Just all around be good persons. But most of all, learn a trade or something so you get something to support yourself on.
You never know what life's going to hand you. And if you're going to have to be a single parent or on your own someday, that you have a career and that you can support your family if you would need to, or yourself.
Always remember who your God is. It's the most important thing. Never forget where your roots come from. You may have been born into a small, humble little town with not so rich parents and grandparents, but you've got a great heritage behind you.
We love you. Love you. That's the biggest thing.